Good evening, welcome to Four Lads Rangers Monday Night Live. Sorry about the slight delay, computer decided to update itself, bang on cue. Joined tonight by my two guests, Kenny and Davie. Just before they speak, tonight will be emotive. We will see a few home truths. We will most likely get tore into a few people. It's opinion only. We are just a podcast. We are no different to any other Rangers supporter. And what we say doesn't have any more effect or gravitas than anybody else. I want to make that clear. We're only sharing our opinions. Our opinions are not guided by anybody but ourselves. And the reason I say that is because we find ourselves in a really difficult position once again as a podcast, because if we don't start shouting for Danny Röhl to get out, then we are worried about our press pass, and we're worried about this, and we're worried about that. And if we do share an opinion that things are going wrong, and I'm worried about the future of them, then we're just forcing them out because we have responsibilities and everything else. I don't think that in this position we can win. So what we're going to do is just simply share our opinion, and that's all it is. People are welcome to share that, and they're welcome to join in discussion as well. Kenny, good evening. How are we?
All right, mate. Had a busy day at work and just try to get over yesterday and it's nonsense. So, yeah, just carrying on as normal, mate. Disappointing couple of weeks for us, so we're going to chew the fat over that.
Davie, good evening. How are you? You well?
I'm physically well, yeah. I'm just totally sick that every May we end up talking about this same stuff over and over again. I would say I'm looking forward to tonight, but I'm probably not. But it's got to be done, hasn't it?
Yeah, Davie, Kenny and I done the post-match from yesterday. I'll ask Kenny if 24 hours on he has changed any opinions in a minute. But you wrote for Follow on Thursday. You predicted Celtic 3, Rangers 1. You were on the chat with me yesterday morning. I said it would be 3-0 to Celtic. We were both very pessimistic. Did anything about yesterday's game surprise you, and what was your overall thoughts?
The outcome certainly didn't surprise me. Overall thoughts is that, yet again, if it's a game that Celtic need to win against us, then they'll win it. If you look at, I don't know how many years it is now, but the games that we go into needing to win, we only tend to win it if they don't need to win it, if that makes sense. I don't know when the last one was. You could say it was a must-win for both of them. But anyway, what did I think of yesterday? I thought that yesterday was another example of one team who would do anything to win, and one team who hoped to win but didn't have the balls to actually go and make it happen. I thought we started reasonably well. I thought that we deserved to go in front, and then I thought that our slackness, lackadaisical attitude at the back spread throughout the rest of the team, and we just basically got worse and worse as the game went on. And we'll go on to referees, which I think is important as well. But I think when it comes to letting us down on the big occasion, we can't just keep pointing at officials, although officials do deserve some of the blame for yesterday. But I think first and foremost we need to look at inside ourselves, and we just do not have a group of players. We don't have a club who seem to be built on winning the way it used to be. And unless we get that back, we're going to be talking about this every bloody May.
Yeah, we will certainly talk about referees, but I want to point something out, as we said yesterday. Celtic deserved to win that game. They were better than us. Their attitudes were better than us, and their players played better than us, full stop. I'm not in the habit of coming on here making excuses. They fought for it and they won the game. Moments of brilliance in there as well. Sadly for us, there's no excuses for me. But what we will talk about is decisions that undoubtedly affected the game and the outcome. These have been talked about all over the press today, and some have spoken about it in ex-referee capacity and things, which we will talk about. So I'm not interested in using excuses. And that's not something I've never wanted to do here, but we most certainly will discuss refereeing decisions. Kenny, it's been 24 hours since you and I spoke last. How are you feeling now?
Just the same. There's a comment come up there, mate. Groundhog Day, and that pretty much sums it up. It does. We're at another crossroads, and what happened yesterday is not unsurprising. I think if anybody was under the illusion that we were going to turn up and take, 3 points off of them, I don't think they'd watched the previous 2 games, because we just did exactly the same. Half-assed attitude, mate. That's the thing that, having watched it back now, that's the thing that disappoints me most, is that that's 3 games in a bounce there, where I can genuinely turn around and say that I can honestly look at that and say that all 3 teams have worked harder and wanted it more than us. And that's the most galling part for me as a Rangers supporter, is that it was all there for these players. And, I've put something in the agenda about something that Manny Fernandez has said, and it kind of sums it up. I'm just, I don't really know what else I can add to what I said yesterday, Stevie. I just feel let down by Rangers yet again. I think that's the only way I can put it. Just disappointed, but not unsurprised, because we do it all the time.
Davie, Manny Fernandez, Kenny says, spoke about it after the game. He says there wasn't enough fight in the dressing room or the squad. The dressing room was silent afterwards. Took a lot on himself. He isn't a young lad. I think Danny Fernandez is 24, but he's young in terms of professional games and everything else. I don't know how many more times we've got to hear it, and Danny Röhl will defend it and say it is a mentality. I didn't want to see Giga laughing and joking after getting beat by Hearts, fellow countrymen talking to or not. I certainly don't want to see the players happy after yesterday, but to feel like there wasn't enough fight or anything, in fairness to Manny Fernandez, he was the one trying to drive on. I seen him at left wing at one point in that second half, so he was trying. I just look around everybody else and I don't feel like there was much in that team. The fact that he says there's not enough fight in the dressing room doesn't exactly shock me.
I think it's a terrible indictment of the dressing room that he's part of, isn't it? How can there be no fight in a Rangers dressing room at Parkhead in a game that 3 games to go that both teams theoretically still win the league? I think it's a horrendous thing to say. I keep going back to the start of the season when we talked about what the dressing room needed, and we kept talking about a spine of leaders. We kept talking about we want bad losers. We want people who'd kick their granny to win a game of football. All the things that successful Rangers dressing rooms in the past have all had, and they still don't have it. I know that the club went down this route of going for development players and potential and sell-on value, which is all great, but you can't do it at a club like ours without having some kind of presence in around them to teach them exactly what's required at a club that needs to win every single week. And it's pretty obvious that this squad of players just don't get it. Undoubtedly, there will be some who will point fingers at the captain, and I don't think he's the kind of captain that group of players need. I think this group of players needs a more confrontational type captain. But it's far more than just one captain or one player. It's the whole philosophy that Rangers have tried to build up within the club, which I just think doesn't fit the kind of club that we are. And of all the things that I think that the new chief executive needs to look at is what kind of club should Rangers be, and what actually are they right now, and how do you quickly close that gap? Because unless we close that gap, then I dread to think what next season will turn out to be like.
Yeah, there's certainly work to do, Kenny. What did you make of Manny Fernandez comments? I would love to say that I read them and I was shocked, or it was surprised, or that's new. I've just read it and I thought, tell me something that's not new. I see it every week on the pitch, or we see it when the going gets tough on the pitch, which sadly has been too much. Davie, you'll tell me if this is right or not. I read a comment saying we dropped something like 22 points since the end of February. or in the last. So somebody will need to come in. I mean, it could be that when you think about the 4 draws, 8 points dropped in those games.
Yeah, well, there'll certainly be 5 or 6 draws, which should take it to
3
10,
defeats
12 points plus 9 in the 3 defeats. So it probably is 20 plus points.
So I find that startling when we talk about how much this squad has just faded away, Kenny.
Well, I know we've won 7 of our last 15 league games. That's when the chips are down, that's how poor it's been. So if you add that up, yeah, we'll be 20 odd points. I don't think there's any doubt in that. I look at on Manny Fernandez. Does it surprise me? No, not at all. However, the last player that did this was Dujon Sterling, who turned around and said we were shit or something like that at a press conference, if you remember, after a game. And I think it was Philip Clement pulled him up for it and said that he can't be doing that. And it wouldn't surprise me with the mentality that we have up there that Manny Fernandez just told you can't be doing that either. It's the honesty that I quite admire. That's the thing. I want to hear a player look at that and actually look at his teammates and say, do you know what? I genuinely don't believe that you've given me everything. You've given your teammates everything, your manager everything, your supporters everything. And I think that's what he's alluding to over the course of the season, that they don't have enough fight in them to actually win things. There's no leadership on the pitch. There just isn't. So I think one of the very few leaders on the pitch is him. I think you can see that you could see him yesterday shouting and bawling and getting frustrated at times with what was in front of him. And it doesn't surprise me at all. Am I disappointed that he said it? No, I'm quite happy that he said it, actually. We've said this the last couple of weeks, Stevie, you and I, and Davie for that matter, some of these players need to take a look at themselves. The lack of effort, the lack of desire, the lack of commitment has just been really obvious. And I don't really know what Danny Röhl can do about that. You know, when the chips are down like this and your key players go missing, then a fair play to Manny Fernandez, I beg your pardon, for piping up and telling us the truth of it, because there's too much sugarcoating going on around about Rangers at this moment in time.
I just thought everything was wrong about yesterday. Davey, what was going on with and Kenny, I'll ask you as well, what was going on with our social media coverage? The drone shots of Parkhead that then get quoted by Celtic, the pictures of the Celtic crest, the slow-mo shots around Parkhead and everything else. What are we doing as a club? Why are we almost pandering to them in a way which they would never do that to us? Quite rightly, they are our rivals and they would not come and do that to us, and we've made it almost like this was a big jolly trip day out to Celtic Park and how wonderful it is. Meanwhile, our fans are in there 3 hours beforehand thinking it's an absolute dump of a place, as you would with your rivals, same way as they think it is with us. But why are we, as a social media, that was to me just completely, they just don't get it. Like, they just don't get the mood or the noise around the club at all.
Yeah, as you know, I'm not into Twitter and stuff like that, but I did read about it yesterday. I'm stunned. I just stunned when I saw it. I think the bottom line is that we don't have enough individuals within the club who actually hate them, whether that's on the park or whether that's off the park. And that's one thing that, from a distance, it looks as if Celtic as a club make sure that anyone who comes into that club gets told straight away that they hate us. It's actually quite noticeable, the number of players who appear at Celtic Park who have got absolutely no background at all in Scottish football, never mind with them, and who within days seem to absolutely despise us. I think they are conditioned to do that. And I would have no problem if we had an attitude like that towards them. This might sound kind of crazy, but I actually think that we might talk about the culture of the club later on, but see the guy I don't think we've ever replaced. We've talked about not replacing Gerrard and not replacing players and stuff. I actually think Jimmy Bell's influence in the dressing room is something that we have never ever replaced. I thought he had a role that he played off the park in terms of educating new players and setting standards reminding what the club was about day on day on day. And I think people like that have been the lifeblood of Rangers for as long as I can remember, and I don't think we've got enough of them in the club anymore.
Kenny, I highlighted it with you and to chat yesterday morning. It was almost like a second and 11. It was just completely the wrong attitude. Why is that happening?
If you didn't know better, you'd say it was a Celtic supporter admin. That's how bad it was. Genuinely, you're looking at it. There's no right-minded Rangers fan that's going to post this nonsense. Bearing in mind, Stevie, this is a football club yesterday that beat us fair and square. Don't get me wrong, we keep talking about refereeing decisions and VAR decisions, but they've won the game because they were better than us yesterday. But what they do at the final whistle was start playing the Danny Röhl song, the Boney M song, to take the piss out of us. And we are sitting pandering to them like this. I mean, all I seen when I checked it was, I believe that Celtic pinned it to their Twitter account, and all I seen was literally hundreds upon hundreds of Celtic fans laughing at it. Now, as PR goes, as see it as a football club, I think that it's a little tiny microcosm of what's wrong, right? Because it's only a Twitter account. But by God, somebody needs a knuckles wrap for that. Have they any idea what they're doing? And how the Rangers fans are being made to feel to do that? From your own football club? I just find that despicable, actually. You're just saying, I actually put it on the group chat, and I'll not put exactly what I put up, but why are they putting this up on our X account? This is outrageous. And I've got no words that would be, it gets taken off air if I genuinely wanted to say what I wanted to say, and I'd get my knuckles wrapped off for Rangers as well, because I just find it disgusting. Genuinely, Stevie, I find that disgusting yesterday. Over and over and over again in the build-up, it was a wee love-in towards Celtic. Take her to yourself, honestly. Don't like that at all, and I'm not feeling any better about it today.
Here's the reason I mention it. I'm not interested in Rangers being, all-out hatred and everything else, but I think we're forgetting that they are our biggest rivals. They treat us with absolute contempt, and we make it seem like we're grateful to be there. And this takes me back to how I watched that performance yesterday. We don't have anyone in that team that understands what it's like to hate them or want to win games no matter what. Mikey Moore's about the closest, and as an 18-year-old young kid when Romans was in that wee skirmish, he's the only one in there. And I just feel like we've got guys in there that don't understand. And it's almost like it's seeping through the club. I was embarrassed by that yesterday. No problem with saying it either. A lot of people blaming the new media guy, Greg Mailer, is in charge of the overall. He's the director of communications. He doesn't deal with day-to-day stuff like match day stuff. So I've got no idea how that happened or how it was allowed to happen. I do know that Greg fixed a lot of it last night. That's why posts and things were deleted, but we should never have been in that position. Is it a big thing? No, I don't think it is. But Davie, when you look into the wider scheme of things and how we are and how we are so passive on the pitch and passive as a football club, maybe it's about time that we did act like a big club instead of acting like a club that was on a school trip yesterday and just delighted to be at a big stadium because it was nauseating.
I think, how many years did it take for Celtic to actually use the word Rangers in any of their communications? They've made it pretty clear over the last 15 years or so exactly what they'll do in terms of kicking us as often as they possibly can. There's no friendly rivalry here. It doesn't exist. And anyone that thinks it's just like some other city rivalries across the world just needs to wake up and smell the coffee. It's different here. Social media is not something that I get particularly excited about, as you know. And in the grand scheme of things, tweets for me won't keep me up at night. But what will keep me up at night is if I think that the identity of my football club's starting to get diluted. And that's just a symptom of what I think a bigger underlying problem is. I talked about Jimmy Bell earlier on it, but I just think that we don't have the identity we used to have. And I'm not talking about King Billy tattoos and stuff like that. I'm talking about people who just understand what it takes to be successful at Rangers Football Club. I think the new chief executive's a Rangers man, so hopefully he will understand what I'm trying to say here, if he ever listens to it. But I do think that this summer, in terms of the undoubted rebuild that is going to have to happen, it has to be a rebuild that doesn't just look at what the team needs in July when the season starts. It's going to be in terms of what this club needs brick by brick on top of the foundations that are there, so that it becomes what it used to be, because we're miles away from it.
Okay, moving on from that, Kenny, Dave, I'm going to bring you in as well. Okay, ref watch this morning, Stonewall red card for Alistair Johnston. Staggered that he got away with it, was the word of Dermot Gallagher. Various mixed reports on the first goal. I'll say the same thing yesterday. I think the first goal is offside. I think it's right in front of Butland. I think precedent has been set when you talk about Raskin's goal that he didn't get against Motherwell and our goal we didn't get at Dundee as well. It's all very similar. Alistair Johnston was a straight red card, and at that time in the game, that's going to make the world of difference, because 10 men certainly changes the game. I'll repeat what I said at the start. Celtic deserved to win that game. Their players played better. Their players performed better, yada, yada, etc. But there's no doubt in my mind that Nick Walsh and that referee team had a massive impact once again on the course of an Old Firm game. Kenny, we spoke about it yesterday. Davie, we had our said. I don't know any pundit that has said it's not a red card. After that Alistair Johnston incident, it was a clear red card to me. We've seen precedent in recent weeks. They were on the end of one last week. I would love to say I was shocked by this. What troubles me even more is the angle that we all seen wasn't available to VAR and wasn't made available to the referee, and VAR never even got involved to tell him to go and check. Alistair Johnston should have been booked by that point as well. I'm getting tired of this because it makes us look foolish. It makes people say, "Oh, grow up," always greeting and everything else. And yeah, I get that. And I don't know how many times we have to say it, that Celtic deserve to win that game and blah, blah, blah. Got to talk about it because it's such a galling incident and Rangers are on the wrong end of it again.
Yep, it's a Stonewall red card. It's as clear as I said it yesterday. It is the most blatant red card you're going to see. I've seen a huge amount of Celtic fans try to explain it away by saying he won the ball. Yeah, he connects with the ball, but it doesn't matter. You're not allowed to challenge like that. You're off the ground, you're almost straight-legged, and you connect above the ankle. It's dangerous, it's reckless, it's everything. It ticks every box that they look for. And it's inexplicable to me that they didn't look at that and send the referee over. And frankly, I'm not really buying the idea that view wasn't available to VAR. Why not? They have access to every single camera in the stadium. So why is it not accessible? It's a nonsense. Not surprised though. This is the issue that we all have, and it's again, you feel as if you're going to stick your tinfoil hat on here, but it's just inexplicable how often this happens in huge games where there's one team gets the rub of the green, so to speak. On the offside goal, I'm going to stick by my opinion. That is clearly offside. He is clearly impeding the view of the goalkeeper, and it's not just as the ball struck to go into the back of the net. It's the cutback comes across, and he's literally impeding his view of the ball getting cut back. Also, if you think about it, now there's other players there. I get that. There's Rangers players there as well. However, he's actually impacting the play twice, in my opinion. Once when the ball gets cut back, and then once when the ball's struck. You can't possibly tell me that that's not interfering with play. That's all I'm going to look at it and say. He's clearly interfering with play. He's directly in front of the keeper as the ball gets cut back for the guy to strike it, and then he's impeding him as he does strike it. So for me, he's interfering with play there for his offside. And again, wholly unsurprising that, as I said to you yesterday, if that goal scored at the other end, do you think it's going to stand? Because it isn't. And you know it isn't. And that's my kind of take on it. Other than that, I'm going to bite my tongue from here on it, because I just, again, Stevie, it's 2.5 years we've been doing this podcast, and it's almost on a weekly basis. We're banging our heads against a brick wall talking about these referees. And I'll reiterate it again. What Rangers need to do here is go after the guy that runs the show. He is not fit for purpose. He just isn't. That's where I am with it. If that's the standard of officiating, where week in, week out, Sky can turn around and say, well, they got that wrong and that wrong and that wrong, consistently, that's where we are.
Yeah, it absolutely is. We need to be careful about what we say on this podcast. We can't come out and say certain things. But what I will say is we had a goalie kicked in the head this season. We've had goal in an Old Firm get wound back to the previous Old Firm to find a foul and chop it off. It's pretty galling, Davie. And once again, yesterday, and do you know what pisses me off just as much? How many times did they pull our players' shirts and stuff like that right in front of Walsh, and he doesn't book them, he doesn't do anything? Yusuf Chermiti was being so effective in that game. The first foul, straight away, yeah, let's book him so that he can't go and challenge and he can't go and rough them up. Martin O'Neill's little audience with Willie Collum seems to have worked a trick.
Yeah, but the Alistair Johnson tackle defies any logic whatsoever that it's not a red card. We can talk about incompetence all we like, but it's hard to comprehend how any top level set of officials, because I think there's more than one in the VAR room. There's a number of them in the VAR. I can understand why Nick Walsh maybe saw that as a yellow card, because I think he was behind where the actual contact happened on Moore. But the camera angle was available to the VAR team, and it is nothing short of ridiculous that they either didn't look at it, which would be terrible, or they saw it and decided not to call the referee over, which is even worse. And the crazy thing is that the referee who was on VAR, the main one, has now been given the Celtic Motherwell game on Wednesday. So there's your punishment for making one of the worst possible mistakes in the highest profile game there is in Scottish football. He gets the next biggest game in 4 days later. Absolutely, it's just ridiculous. I don't think there's anyone who saw that tackle, once you see the right angle of it, who can say anything other than it's a red card, because you can't call it anything else. If ever there's what you call excessive force and endangering an opponent, that's it. And the one thing I would say about it is, not only would it have meant that we had 50 minutes against 10 men, which it should have been, it wouldn't just have meant that. It would have meant Celtic's best right back wouldn't have played the last 2 games of the season, because a red card for that offence is an automatic 2-game suspension. So he wouldn't have played at Fir Park, and he wouldn't have played against Hearts next week. So Celtic don't just get away with murder for yesterday. They've actually got their best available right back in the team for these 2 huge games coming up, and he shouldn't be there. So it's ridiculous. You did say about O'Neill meeting up with, or phoning Willie Collum during the week. Funny how that got into the press the morning of the game, isn't it? Isn't that a surprise? I've maybe got a slightly different take in the offside one for most folk. I think if that had been at the other end, I'd have been screaming for that not to be disallowed. I don't think that should be disallowed. But the problem I've got is we know damn fine it would be disallowed if it was the other end. That's what the problem is.
I think what I said about that one, Davie, is the precedent has been set
Absolutely.
when you look at decisions this season.
That's what I'm saying. But I think that I remember the Dundee game, and we were all saying that should never be chalked off. The goalkeeper was never going to get anyone near it. He wasn't interfering enough with play. But the Dundee one shouldn't have been chalked off. It should have been a goal. And I actually genuinely think if that had been, I don't know, Man United and Man City yesterday, and one of them had a goal, I'd have been saying, oh, I would have given that goal. But I think it's because of, we know damn fine what would have happened at the other end of the park if we had scored that goal. We know it would have been chalked off. We know the inconsistency that's there. We know that how many different Old Firm games in the last 2 or 3 years has there been a game-changing decision, and it's always went in the same direction? I think Celtic have got won 3 cup finals in the last 6 or 7 years with decisions that were blatantly wrong against us. So that's what the problem is. And it would have been nice, we might get to it, but it would have been nice if our head coach, manager, after the game had maybe done more than just say, I don't like to criticise referees. Because I think when we talk about the difference between the two clubs again, there is no way in this earth a Celtic manager would just have said, we'll just accept it and move on. They'd have been talking about it for the next year. And that's what we need to get in our heads, that when people are wronging us, we need to go after them. We don't need to sit in silence and let it happen.
Kenny, you know that one of the first times I met Andrew Cavanagh, I pointed this out to him. We spoke about it at length, and the standard of refereeing. Rangers seem to be trying to do something about it, but it's all very, very gentle and all very low key. I'm with Kenny. I'm with Davie. Sorry, Kenny. That I want Danny Röhl to be talking about that. I want Danny Röhl to be talking it up. And do you know what else I want to see on the pitch? I want my players to act like they cared, surround the referee, get in their faces, protect their teammates. Why is there none of that happening? That's the biggest thing for me from a Rangers point of view. We just take these decisions. What I will say is, and I'll continue to say this, there's no excuses here for me. Rangers don't deserve to be anywhere other than third place. They're not good enough. The players are not good enough. The team is not good enough. But we can talk about decisions and say that they're not right, because they're not. And we can also talk about Rangers not being good enough. There's nothing to say that if Johnson got sent off, or if that offside goal had been called that way, Celtic wouldn't have won the game anyway. They most likely would have. That's absolutely fine. I don't have an issue with that. But when the letter of the law is continually not getting applied, then I think that becomes problematic for us. And I'll repeat again, as I've said about 19 times on this podcast so far, Rangers are the issue here. We aren't good enough, but there's some things that just are not a level playing field. I'd like to see the club be stronger.
Not just stronger. I want them to go kind of nuclear on this. Because I'm genuinely sick to the back teeth of it, and it's highly noticeable now in the last month, 6 weeks or so, where there's been many dubious decisions, we'll call them that Hearts, who are now in a title race, their fans are beginning to notice it all of a sudden, when we've been telling them for the last 15 years, and they didn't give a shit in the last 15 years, but all of a sudden they care, because it actually involves them. So they're beginning to notice it, which is quite odd, isn't it? That we're not that paranoid, are we, when other clubs are noticing it too? My issue with Rangers is it's just too weak. It's meek, it's naive, it's passive, it's all of this. We want to do all this behind closed doors. It's not going to work. I can promise anybody from Rangers that's watching this right now, trying to do things discreetly with the SFA and the referees is never going to work. You're going to have to go full on nuclear on it and turn around and point to it in the media on every single time it happens. I want to see Rangers officials, I want to see the Rangers owner, the chairman, the manager, everybody out saying this is not acceptable all week. I want one of them out a day turning around and talking about the referees. And there's another club across the city that have done this for 30 odd years, 40 years, and it works for them. So let's get a little bit of parity about it. That's what I'm saying. And as I say, I've got no interest in... I'll rephrase this. See if Rangers are a good enough team, you take referees out the equation. That's the bottom line. We're not good enough. We understand that. But when you get situations like that, where you've had, as Davie says, you've had the it's more out than in penalty decision last season. You've got a key game that yesterday where you've got a blatant red card sitting in front of your eyes and they can't see that. How many times do we have to actually go on and explain or point to, you know, examples of them getting decisions wrong in games? And that's where I'm at with it. The Rangers do have to be far more public and far more vocal about this, in my opinion. Now, it's only my opinion. It's not four lads' opinion. It's mine. I'm just fed up with this nonsense about, you know, with Danny Röhl yesterday. It actually pissed me off a little bit because I didn't watch his press conference, so I've only heard it. I didn't want to see the press conference. But for him to turn around and say that, Davie, you know, I'm not one to... Well, be one. Learn. And that's the kind of the wet behind the ears nonsense I don't want to hear for a Rangers manager, to be perfectly blunt. You've just been done out of a key decision when the tie or the game itself is very much in the balance. It's one each at the time, if I remember right. And you've got 45 minutes against 50 minutes, as Davie says, against 10 men. You can genuinely go into that away dressing room yesterday and change everything about your team talk, everything about the plans that you've got for the second half. And we know what happened in the second half, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it would have necessarily worked, but the point I'm making is it's a totally different game. And I'm fed up with Rangers with it, actually. Genuinely, Stevie, I am utterly, utterly sick to the back teeth of Rangers not going, as I say, tonto about this, because whatever they're doing behind the scenes isn't working. It's getting worse, if anything.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're doing a lot. Davie, where does this leave Danny Röhl?
I think where this leaves Danny Röhl is that he has lost the vast majority of the fan base. And I'm struggling to see how short term he can possibly get it back. I think that if I was a betting man, I would say that he won't be the Rangers head coach or manager next season. If I was a betting man, I think that it would probably be better for all concerned if the huge rebuild this summer was headed and led by the figurehead that we want for the next 2 or 3 years in charge. It's very easy for us to sit here and say sank managers and stuff like that. I get all that. But I think the body of evidence that is building up in a direction that goes against Danny Röhl being likely to be able to lead us to the success that we all need. And it's not just the fact that we talked about earlier about I'm being maybe a bit soft and a bit not critical enough. It's not just that. I think whether it's team selections, whether it's tactics, whether it's response in games to situations that arise, substitutions, I just think that when the longer the seasons went on and the more pressure has come on and the more its expectation has built, the more that he has got wrong. And I genuinely don't see a way back for him. Now, the thing about, I really like him. I think he's treated our club with a great deal of respect. I think maybe the fact that whose predecessor was helped him a little bit in that, but I do think that he has been a very dignified and decent guy who has done his best to represent Rangers Football Club. I just don't think he's the hard-nosed figurehead leader type that I think that we need to build the club around going forward. And I think if I was a betting man, I think the chief executive and the board will come to the same conclusion in me as I am coming to, which is that I think we need not just a new squad of players, but I think we also need a new leader in the dressing room.
Kenny, it's been 24 hours on since we last had our say on it. Manny Fernandez has backed him. I know the players absolutely love him in there because they do think he's fantastic. Where are you on Danny Röhl?
I don't care what these players think, Stevie. Not got an even the remotest interest in what these players think about a manager or a head coach. No, they don't have the right to a say in this. They're the team that are going to embarrass our football club and embarrass our supporters by finishing third this season. So they don't have a right to think what's best for Rangers. I'm sorry, they don't. They just don't. And half of them will be away in the summer anyway. So yeah, there you go. My opinion on Danny Röhl hasn't really changed over the last couple of weeks, Stevie. Very promising young coach, young manager, very likeable guy, very impressive guy. And in perhaps 5 years' time, when he's went and he's learned his trade properly, he might well be a fantastic Rangers manager. But the evidence since February is just staring us all in the face that it's not working at this minute in time in big games. His record against the other teams in the top six is an abject failure. It is. He's won 6 and 16 now. It's not good enough. That's really poor. That's effectively 1 in 3 games you're going to win against Falkirk, Hibs, Motherwell, Celtic and Hearts. I mean, come on. It's not good enough. I'll ask Davie and I'll ask you again the same question I asked you yesterday, Stevie. Do you see Rangers winning a league title next year, even giving the guy 25 million, 30 million pound in the summer to bring in 5-6 of his own players? Do you see us winning the league next year with some of the mistakes that you've witnessed over the last 3 months or so? Because I just can't see us winning the league next year with him. And that's where I am with it. Whether he stays or goes is entirely down to Andrew Cavanagh and his board and what they see what is best for the future for the football club. But if they get that wrong and keep him, this is where I think they'll have an issue, because if they decide to stick with him, give him a transfer kitty in the summer, and it goes wrong badly, or goes wrong at the start of next season, and we find ourselves in the same cycle we've been in for years, and they have to replace him, then the attention and the focus is going to go straight on to the owners and the board. And of course, it's natural to do that, because the public opinion at this moment in time is that I don't know, 75% of people probably looking at it saying make the change just now. So it's a huge decision to make, and it's not for us to kind of call it, Stevie. But I know where I am, and I've told you on here already that I personally would make the change just now. But if they don't, I'll be delighted for Danny Röhl, but by God, he's going to get it right in the summer and it's starting next season.
Davie, on Kenny's point,
I think that if we did stick with Danny Röhl, I agree with Kenny. I don't think that will end up being successful. And my fear is that we'd end up bringing in his players in the summer. We don't start next season very well, and we end up going through this circus again of replacing the manager in October, and it's all too late, and then we write off another season before we know where we are. I see some folk in the comments saying, well, who would you have? Who would you have? There's no perfect answer to this, is there? But if I was in charge of Rangers, if Andrew Cavanagh was crazy enough to make me chief executive and put me in charge of recruitment or whatever it was, I would be getting Gerrard back. And I know he left us under bad circumstances. I know he only won 1 trophy out of 9, and I know that he's not been successful elsewhere, but I just think he fits our club. And I think he fits the kind of leader that we absolutely desperately need. It wouldn't be popular as it was before. He wouldn't get as much time as he had before, but I think that his type of leadership style, his aura, his authority is exactly what we need. And I think that if we were to make a change, that's where I'd be going.
Okay, so my view on it, which inevitably we're going to be surrounded by for the next God knows how long in this summer until a decision is made or whatever happens or we get told what is going on. If Rangers are going to stick with Danny Röhl, they need to stick with him because we cannot go through another September, October change. So they need to go in it with their eyes completely wide open. If Danny Röhl is their man, then they stick with him. They back him, stick with him and let him see it out. If we go through rough times in September and October time, etc., when inevitably change history tells us, then you ride it out because that's your choice that you've made. The other side of it is you back him and we start off like a house on fire, and that is possible. Danny gets his players in, etc. Is it likely of what we've seen? We're unsure, but I think we all know where we're short in this team. Leadership, the spine of the team's pretty horrendous. We need goals in it because we don't have it. We need a proper striker. We need a centre back. We need a goalkeeper. There's a lot of work to be done. Most likely there'll be a couple of big name sales as well to try and get all that. We've got to remember that Danny Röhl, as much as he's fallen, has picked this team up. He's made sellable assets out of Fernandes, Chermiti. The difference he's made in Mikey Moore as well. Because remember, under Russell Martin, none of these guys were playing. So he has done a good job individually here and there with players, and there is an argument to say that perhaps he deserves a proper shot at it. As much of an argument as need to let him go now. I am in a position where if I call for him to go and say that Andrew Cavanagh should be replacing him, which the head kind of says, well, that run of form since February isn't good enough. He's not got it. Then people just simply say that I'm a backstabber and everything else. Some of the comments on social media the last couple of days have been an eye-opener. If I say that we should keep him, then I just get called somebody that wants to keep press access and everything else and blah, blah, blah. So I really can't win. It's not like I can stay out of it. I want what's best for Rangers Football Club. If that means that Danny Röhl has to go, then so be it. But Rangers' next appointment, if we do go down that route, must be a manager. It must be a figurehead. It can't be a project coach, because that is wrong. There's big questions regarding Andrew Cavanagh, his leadership of the football club, and we're about to see what he's really made of in the next 10 days or so. Because any change should be made on Monday, this time next week. It shouldn't wait until the whole summer's gone. We need to know where we're at. If it's going to be Danny Röhl, then you back him. If it's going to be somebody else, then you get him in and let him work with the summer, because it's going to be a very small summer. If Celtic don't win that Scottish Cup, we're in the Conference League, and we'll get about 2 or 3 weeks off before we have to come back and start doing an abundance of qualifiers. So there's no time for us to mope about. It's one or the other for me, guys. He either stays and we back him and then we ride it out. I don't want this merry-go-round come October, September, October time, November, blah, blah, blah. It's boring. And as a football club, we have to do everything we can to avoid it. Do it now or don't do it at all.
Yeah, I totally agree. We discussed this last week, didn't we? And I do agree with you that if they decide, they've got a stick or twist scenario almost, haven't they? And if they do decide to stick, then you have to back this boy to the absolute nth degree. You have to give him everything that he wants, as best you can, obviously, because we are such a mess this season. The incredible thing is that we all come in to this season full of optimism. You get serious misgivings or kind of concerns, I beg your pardon, about some of the signings that were coming for the lower leagues in England, and you say, but that history tells you that when Rangers or Celtic, for that matter, sign players from those leagues, it tends not to be a thing that works very well. So, but you back it, you go with it, you run with it, and then you look at it at the end of the season and you could turn around and say that this has been one of the worst seasons in living memory. It's just been an appalling season, and it has. And fair play to Danny Röhl for getting us so far. That's the key issue. He got us so far, and then our Rangers have fallen flat in the face in the last couple of months, and particularly in the last 2 weeks. And that is the issue that I see at this minute in time. Do the owners genuinely look at it and say, yeah, but we need to give him more of what he wants? Or do they turn around and say, actually, we've got a body of evidence here that's kind of concerning us about him taking us into next season? It's just such a difficult thing to decide, because if you're Andrew Cavanagh and the board, you're probably looking at it and saying, well, the one thing he did do was steady the ship when we were an absolute riot in October. But then, I said this again yesterday, Stevie, but fans reserve the right to change their mind. And when you lose three games in 2 weeks when the league title's there for you, then that's where the serious concerns are coming from. That you just can't do that at Rangers. You can't. It's the first time we've lost 3 league games in a row in 25 years, and it's not a good look for Danny Röhl. It just isn't. So I totally agree with you. If they do stick, then they're going to have to back him and give him the season and see where they're at. That's what they have to do.
Davie?
Sorry, I struggled to come off mute there. Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. I do think if they stick with him, which I think's it is a bit of a gamble sticking with him, going on what we've seen. But if they look at what he inherited and they look at where we were last October, and if they think that's enough progress from that point, just over a space of 6-7 months, whatever it is, if they think that and want to go with him, fair enough. But I totally agree with you in terms of they need to then support him during the summer in a way that gives him the best chance of being a success next season. And by that, I mean that the recruitment side of the club needs to bring in the bad loser leader mentality that is missing. They need to bring in experience. They need to not look at development and potential in every single player. And it's almost as if I think they would need to give him there's no such thing as what I'm about to say, but the Walter Smith assistant to what Souness had. if there is somebody like that out there to help him, because I think that if they are going to stick with him next year, he needs a right hand man that I don't think he's got just now. I think he needs somebody that gets the club that he's in. If they stick with him, it'll be brave, and I think it will show that they don't listen to outside noise. They do what they think's right, which we can't complain about. They've put the money up. But I don't think there's any doubt, though, that if they do decide to do that, they're going to have to be to ride the storm at the start of next season if it doesn't start well, because it'll be really hairy at the start of next, because they will need to give them the season, and if they do that and it starts badly, they need to be aware of the fact that the bullets might stop getting fired at him and start getting fired up the way towards them.
Yeah, there's certainly a big decision for Andrew Cavanagh, that's for sure. Kenny and I will be back Wednesday evening from the gantry at Ibrox Stadium for Rangers versus Hibs. I would love to say that I'm looking forward to it, but it is what it is. Kenny, thank you, mate. Much appreciated as ever.
Not at all, thank you. Thanks, Davie. These are never nice. Apparently the comments are loaded tonight, so sorry I've not been on the comments jobs, but listen, just difficult times for Rangers, and as I say, that's the issue that the owners have at this moment in time, guys. That it's such a key decision. It's one of the most pivotal decisions that the new owners are going to have over the next few years, I think. And they have to get it right. They have to know exactly where they want to see the football club go to, and they have to decide whether Danny Röhl is the guy to do that. I've got my serious misgivings and concerns about it. I've got to say, I'm not convinced. I think he's learning on the job. That's what's concerning me, and I don't believe that Rangers is a position that you can sit and do that job while learning to do it at the same time. We need a figurehead, as Davie said at the start of the show. It's a figurehead manager we need. That's what we need, and that's where I would like us to go.
Davie, thank you, mate. As ever, much appreciated.
My pleasure, and I'd just like to thank all the Celtic supporters in the comments for all their kind remarks about us tonight. We much appreciate it. It just shows you that they've got other things they can be celebrating, but they'd rather listen to Rangers supporters, which I think tells you everything about them and everything about us as well. Enjoy the game on Wednesday night. I won't be doing the gantry this time. I'm just going to be sitting in my seat in the main stand, saying goodbye to a number of players that I hope I never see again, and onwards and upwards after that.
Yes. Much appreciated to everyone in the comments and has watched those in the comments that don't support Rangers. Done my very best to clear them out, but it is difficult when you've got so many. There's not much we can do about it. I'll just get rid of him as well. Yep. Do my very, very best. The huge thank to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clydeview Fire Protection and Joinery, Athlone Industrial Solutions, CST Air Conditioning, Candid, RYDC, our Sunday sponsors. What can I say? Third place for Rangers Football Club is never good enough. And it's tough. It's tough to take. We should definitely be making sure that this doesn't happen again, and there needs to be strong sweeping changes at the football club to ensure that it doesn't. If you want to be a big club, you have to act like a big club, and I think maybe Andrew Cavanagh needs to think about exactly his next steps, because it's going to be interesting and everybody is watching. As for watching this channel, please like and subscribe on YouTube. That really helps us grow. If you want to become a podcast member, you can by scanning the QR code in the top corner, 99p a month. Gets you a wee bit of background stuff, a wee bit of interesting pods, etc. There's one at the moment with Willie Matheson, which is brilliant to watch. Please go and do so. Rangers 1972 Cup Winners' Cup player. First one he's ever done something like this, so it really is incredible watch. So please go and do that. You also get ad-free pods and things like that. So appreciate all the support. Yeah, it's not easy at the moment, but we will see where this summer takes us, and we keep going. That's for sure. Bye for now, folks. Have a good week. We'll catch you midweek. Take care for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athlone Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.